Hot baited. Now, welcome back to the LCS Countdown, where, as you can see, that's not quite LS. Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties and LS's brain being too big for these monitors, we were unable to get him slotted in time to continue the countdown. But I did want to shout him out regardless, because LS has been co-streaming the LCS all season long, and you can check him out at twitch.tv/IMLS. So make sure you check him out for all of his big brain analysis on everything when it comes to 100 Thieves versus Cloud9. He was going to do some talking about some of the drafting, particularly on the 100 Thieves side of things coming into the series. I'm sure he'll be able to have that discussion over on his channel. So go check that out as we continue the discussion ourselves on this 100 Thieves squad. And Alorum, I want to come to you first, because this team has been a bit of a conundrum for us. They started so hot. We're in the conversation for top team right out the gate. Had a bit of a fizzle in mid-split, quick roster change to try and, change or fix some of the issues. And still we've waffled, really, on ultimately how well they'll be able to compete here in the postseason.
Yeah, so it seemed like from the start, 100 Thieves were in contention for potentially the first place team. A lot of people thought that from the lock-in, mainly because their early game was so good. They were getting leads every single game from their side lane plays with the Somday. He would consistently roam down on picks like the Twisted Fate and get off perfect dives that would go well for 100 Thieves every single time. And they did it every single game. Game after game, they kind of picked the same comp, but they kept getting the early leads, so they kept doing it. So the question is, as 100 Thieves kind of fall off toward the end of the split, is it that they've gotten worse in the style, that they're just kind of this one-trick pony kind of team? They have one style they can play, or are the other teams getting better and they've adapted to the 100 Thieves style? And if that's the case, as the other teams get better and 100 Thieves don't switch up their style or don't get better at other styles of play, it's going to be that much easier to play against them and that much easier to draft against them.
I think it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B with the playstyle thing. I mean, you saw that replay. That was actually from last week's game against TL, which is, the style that they had dominated play-ins with did not work at all, and it hasn't worked for most of the regular season. Their dives either went wrong or they just forced people off waves. They couldn't actually convert it into kills, and that's been the struggle for this team, is finding playmaking. And I think that's what I think one of the big changes was targeted at with bringing Ryoma in, was the Demonte plays weren't working anymore, and they wanted to find another option.
Yeah, my biggest issue with that style that worked in lock-in tournament and a little bit in week one is the fact not only did the meta change, so you're now playing a lot more of a slower paced game. You're playing for jungle, so the jungle clearing out is really important. But also, as the split goes on, people are going to be more prepared for dives like these. The bot lane is going to be better prepared to call for attention. Jungle to either hover for them or TPs to be ready. Or even if they can't get that attention or help, they'll back away. So the Team Liquid example that you're talking about, Team Liquid just thrived off that, because even though FBI and Huhi got that advantage, it was the jungler, it was Santorin, that was clearing more camps than them at the exact same time, and then still being able to get the top lane dive for it. So Closer was behind, top lane was behind, and that seems to be the consistent trend for 100 Thieves, is that they put in a lot of resources towards their bot lane so FBI can carry, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the top side of the map and the jungle mostly that gets a lead because of it.
Okay, and so I want to talk about Somday, because a lot of people would agree that he's kind of had a pretty lackluster split. We haven't seen the Somday we've seen in the previous split, and we can see just based on the stats, the KDA is down, damage per minute. The only thing he's a little bit better on is CS difference at 15, and that's pretty much negligible. And we can say a lot of that is probably coming from the jungle proximity toward his lane. He is in dead last this split for Closer coming to top lane in terms of every other team. So even though that's the case, he is still picking things that are primarily supposed to be played top side or strong side. He is playing Renekton for a third of the games of split. He's played 6 of it. He plays a lot of Aatrox, which could be played on weak side, but is mostly a strong side pick. He's played a lot of Narb. I think the only 2 picks he's played that aren't considered strong side picks is the Shin and the Gragas. So if you are primarily playing away from Somday, I'm not really understanding why he's still picking such strong side picks, but they're playing away from him. So maybe that is a reason why Somday has seemed to have fallen off so far.
Yeah, that's my thing, is that I kind of expected that 100 Thieves were going to be a bot lane focused team. When people were really excited to see Somday on carries, I was like, well, this team wants to play towards FBI. I think that's understandable. I think they should just be drafting for it. So when I see, I think Gnar is a fine pick and counter pick. I think Gnar is something that if you want to blind pick it, you need bans for it, so you don't go into an Aurelia Jace. Like there are a lot of picks that just really suck for Gnar if he's gonna be pretty much on an island. But this team essentially puts him on that a lot of the time. So I think if we're talking about improvements in drafts, I would either want him to be playing more of a solid tank that's harder to dive. Gragas, I thought, was great if he's being put in these situations. Like Sion, Malphite, whenever those... I was about to say Malphite, but I know Alarm's his ear's going to perk up when I say something like that. But whenever, like, basically pick for those situations if this is how you want to play the game, or cover him on those dives so basically you're not putting him on an island where he's just going to die constantly if you're just going to play bot side.
All right, now clock's ticking before we get the game started, and so I do want to move away from 100 Thieves stylistically and more into the matchup itself. We saw in the commercial break a quick oversimplified on Closer, and it's very clear that he knows he's got his work cut out for him, not just in the season, but here in the matchup against Blaber today. So I actually want to take a look at a number of the other matchups across the Rift that might play a big role in how this one breaks down. Let's start in the mid lane, so right back to you, Raz. I know we were talking a lot about champion pools and the development of the mid lane meta with yesterday's series. How do you see today's mid lane matchup playing out?
It's going to be rough for Ioma because not only did he come into the team later on in the split, but of course Perks is stronger mechanically. He's definitely had time to work with Blaber. For me, this is going to be heavily skewed towards Perks, but I think something that 100 Thieves fans should be really happy with is even though Ryoma is coming in later on, he's had some good performances on a whole slew of picks. So I know yesterday I was talking about those Everfrost champions like the Silas and all that. He's being able to bring that, and I'm expecting that to be the case. I think, Ryoma is going to get a little bit of love, especially going up against Perks. I don't expect him to be thrown into the wolves without much jungle attention. And now with more time to prepare for the playoffs, I think this is, he's best set up for success here.
All right, Mark, over to you for the bot lane. As mid lane, I think most people expect Perks to come out ahead. This one, to me, feels a little bit more contentious.
I would say this is maybe the only lane you could argue that 100 Thieves have an advantage in. I would make that argument, and I think FBI is incredible, and he has a ton of Senna games, which really skews his stats. So you kind of have to throw some of them out or remove the Senna games. And when you do that, he is tops in CSDs, tops in 4%. He's tops in gold differential, XP differential. They crush bot lane. In team fights, he's amazing. He also leads the league in damage per minute, as we just saw in the stats earlier. Like he is such a stud for this team. The only rub against him a little bit is that they have had some moments of forgetting where the opponent is, some TPs behind them, some misplays, but that's true for almost everyone. And he is really the workhorse for this team. So if they're going to find a win, it's going to be because he's able to get the best of the C9 bot lane.
And that's you mentioned something there, Marks, which is the amount of attention that he gets and a lot of the resources that he gets on that bottom side of the map. And so for me, I think Sven is a lot more balanced out, that Blaber can play towards mid, top. Sure, there's still a lot of jungle proximity towards the bot lane, but Vulcan actually works with Blaber a lot more and is not with Sven as much. He's actually, the dual proximity with Vulcan and Sven is incredibly low. So like, that's where I'm seeing Sven to be able to play bot side on his own with less resources and still actually output really great numbers, and also in worse matchups at times. I think he's picking for comp a lot of the times in his games. Sometimes he's picking Kai'Sa, and you know what? Raze is coming in with a Draven, and that's what you're going to have to deal with, and I think he's playing well accordingly.
All right, from the bot lane to the top, Alorm, I want a quick hit on Somday versus Fudge, especially considering the fact that we're always questioning who's going to get strong side, who's going to get weak side in any given matchup.
Well, if history repeats itself, both of these players will be kind of playing the weak side in this series because both of them have pretty low jungle proximity. Fudge with a little bit more. We do see Blaber come to his lane every now and then when the gank is pretty free, like we saw some of those Camille like TP games. That being said, it seems like when we're comparing weak side to weak side, Fudge is just doing so much better. Somday right now is the number 2 for most deaths on the league for top laners and most deaths for the percent of team share. So, and Fudge is just all the way at the bottom. So it's really just a battle of weak side and who survives better. And I think a lot of that does line up to C9 knows what they want to do with their comp more, while Somday is still kind of stuck playing these strong side top laners on the weak side. So I don't predict that there will be a lot of action in the top lane if history repeats itself. And I think the only way that'll change is if 100 Thieves stylistically change and start playing back toward the top side.
All right, well, the teams are just about ready to head into Champions Select, so we've got one last thing to take a look at before we throw it over to the casters. That's the Samsung SSD Fast 5. It's going to look a little different this time around as we are focusing in on the matchup at hand. So you will see, of course, the player for each team in their role of 100 Thieves and Cloud9 against the LCS average as well. A couple things that jump out to me, curious if this means anything to you guys. Of course, the mythic item level reached by the mid laner, I think that does speak to a degree to the discrepancy between mid laners that we'll see here today. A decent amount of time between both Perks and Ryoma hitting that mark, Raz.
Yeah, I think that's relevant. For me, the one thing I also want to cling to is jungle as well, because for both teams, ideally they want to play towards their jungler, and Closer a lot of the times is playing towards fast clear junglers as well. I think him being below, just a little bit below LCS average goes back to the point that I'm making, where if they're looking for dives or if they're looking for a play to happen, Closer just falls behind in experience at times, and I think that's something that they should optimize. That's one of my biggest criticisms of, you know, some of the games that I've been seeing from 100 Thieves is just optimization for Closer. He's your superstar jungler. He is an incredible performer. So I think if he's on a Hecarim or an Udyr, just play for him more.
All right, well, I know everybody's hungry for the games and the teams already. We do have your predictions on record, so we'll make sure to re-hit those at the end of game number 1 to see where you guys stand on the series overall. But for now, it's time to head over to Freak and Azael to get ourselves into 100 Thieves versus Cloud9.
Thank you very much, Dash. We've got a very exciting match for you here today, and with it, an exciting pair of casters. We've got a world-renowned champion on one side and just a bald dude on the other. We're talking about the fact that I am the reigning LCS Fantasy Champion, joined by Azael.
You see, the problem is you had to explain your joke, right? And that's where you know your joke already sucked. If it was obvious from the get-go, then I will give you some points here. But already we're off to a bad start, Freak. This isn't how I pictured things going. But luckily for us, we've got Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves. We've got some League of Legends to cast, and we will be saved.
We will be saved. We might even be saved by Australia, as we got 3 former OPL pros here from Ryoma, FBI, and Fudge facing off in our final best of 5 for the week. And that's going to be exciting as well to see how much they can continue to duke it out, because I think the top lane matchup is exciting. I will tell you personally, in my all-pro voting, I still have Fudge over Somday as a better performer this year. I know that is contentious, but I believe it's going to happen. As we've seen, both of these teams tend to be ignored by their junglers, and Fudge tends to do more with less than Somday has done. We'll see how this one plays out, though, of course. The other big news is Ryoma is in for his 3rd straight week here on 100 Thieves, hoping that his stronger laning and stronger team fighting can be what brings 100 Thieves over the top.
And it'll be also very interesting to see if either of these teams is going to pivot away from kind of how we knew them in the regular season, right? Because coming into playoffs, you're going to come in with a plan. You're going to come in with a plan for more than just the one game, for the 5-game series. Sometimes you want to throw a curveball. Sometimes you want to subvert expectations because you know your opponents are going to be rewatching all your games, are going to be building to counter and answer what you have been doing a lot in Spring Split. So it'll be really interesting because over the last couple of weeks, everyone has been talking about, all right, where's the old 100 Thieves? Where's the aggressive 100 Thieves? That's what we're waiting for. And is that going to be what 100 Thieves gives us? Or are they going to be playing, more slow, methodical style and just try to be, more of that kind of late game style of team?
Absolutely. I'm really curious about this one. I know we heard about it on the analysis somewhat, but I really am keyed into the bot lane matchup here. FBI and Huhi, I agree with Mark Z. I think have been a somewhat stronger performing 2-on-2 in this year so far. Cloud9, though, threats in a lot of other places. Blaber seems to be a frontline MVP candidate. Perks, I believe, was first team All-Pro for mid lane. Ryoma, obviously, only 6 regular season games. Probably didn't get almost any votes. And so now we are into the actual selecting part of Champ Select, as Renekton is insta-locked for Cloud9's top laner, Fudge.
Yep, and that is actually the most played top laner by a lot for Somday, so it is a nice takeaway from him. Will be interesting to see where he wants to take us as far as the answers. Notably, the big three, as far as the junglers are concerned, are all banned away. Generally, when these three champions get banned out, you see people move towards the AP junglers. The Nidalee, the Lilia often come in here. And I think the Nidalee makes a lot of sense for 100 Thieves, both because it is one of Closer's best champions, but also because of the takeaway from the Renekton. That pairing is something that people are really concerned about. So I think it's a pretty smart pick.
Yeah, absolutely agree with this one. So Lilia going to come through, the Nidalee on the other side. We'll see if the Tahm Kench gets indeed third pick for 100 Thieves. Seems pretty likely. Yeah, Ezreal. Cloud9, I assume trying to find a matchup that they think will maybe not give too much farm over to the Senna Tahm Kench. You can get poked out very, very easily with the Senna impunity. Ezreal can play that one far away.
That to me already feels like, when I see an early Ezreal, this is like, we're not playing bot lane, we're going top, right? We're playing towards the top side of the map. Feels like they want to focus on Fudge's lane, feels like they want to potentially focus on Perk's lane, play towards that top side of the map, because generally Ezreal is one of those champions that can just be left alone on an island, can play the 1v2 comfortably, can just farm it out, enables roaming supports, and that's something that Cloud9 may be looking towards as a result. Now, going into this second round of picks here, we have the GP as the answer into Renekton. Can actually go really well, at level 1, level 2 type things for GP. If you can utilize that Trial by Fire passive effectively, that can be pretty powerful in that early laning phase, and should be something that helps to enable FBI, who is going to be playing this Senna down on that bottom side, all towards the bot lane, potentially look to play towards that bot lane, which is what FBI and who he were really known for in Lock-In, what 100 Thieves was really known for in Lock-In in the early spring split.
Yeah, this will be interesting because I'm expecting a Tahm Kench ban here, second for Cloud9, getting rid of the most common pairing, unless these teams scrimmed a bunch and they realized, there were other Senna lanes that 100 Thieves were willing to play, but Tahm Kench is the one that, the klaxons blare as hey, this is the lane match that they want to play, it's the lane match that they want to play. And yeah, Tahm Kench is indeed going to be the ban, so we'll see if it's just going to be like a farming Alistar, farming Set, I think actually can make a lot of sense here as well. Yeah, that's probably the next in line, and Huhi is an outstanding Set player. We know FBI is going to be on the Senna almost certainly, and they're like, yeah, we could just grab Gangplank here, give us one ban, it's fine. Our replacement is almost as good, so, do what you want with your bans.
It's interesting to see the Lucian and the Aurelia both targeted towards Perks. We very likely know that Renekton is going towards the top side. It's like 99% of the time that it is played up there. But Perks is one of the guys who's playing a lot of these aggressive champions mid. He's brought out the Yone, he's brought out the Aurelia. Lucian is another one that he is willing to play. He plays the Tristana, so that has been banned out. So a lot of focus towards Perks here, towards keeping Ryoma safe. He will be the one with last pick. So it's going to be interesting to see how conservatively Cloud9 wants to go here.
Ooh.
Oh, it's just behind Yone.
All right.
Okay, not conservative at all.
No, it's not. And Leona, Nautilus, something engaged likely to be alongside. Keep in mind, Cloud9 do not have very good engage tools right now. Swirl Sweeping into Sleep is not reliable. Renekton Flanks, not reliable. So, like a Leona, like a Nautilus, of course, Rel is gone. That's the kind of thing you're looking for here. Otherwise, Cloud9 can only poke and split push, and that makes it really tough to navigate the team comp. So Leona indeed will be the lock. Gonna have a hard time, surviving against Senna. You can try to engage. At the very least, you can say that Set isn't Tahm Kench. You can try to focus the Senna. The problem is Ezreal cannot reliably land all of his damage since minions and Set himself can block the skill shots. Orianna going to be the answer in mid to talk to this Yone. That'll be the mid lane matchup here for Ryoma. We'll see how it goes.
Very interesting. I mean, when you consider what the actual counters, so to speak, would be, it's often things that are bruisers that you can play into these champions like Yasuo and Yone mid lane, things like Renekton, which Cloud9 often has. But another pick that actually would have been really interesting is Set. Set is actually really good into Yone mid. This is another one of those champions that can match up well, so a flex would have been pretty cool, but it is just the Orianna mid. So nothing really surprising coming out from 100 Thieves. And, I am never a fan of the red side drafts when you just go for a 5th pick. That could have just been a first pick blind pick and it wouldn't have changed the draft whatsoever. It does, I think, work well with their composition. So it doesn't mean that it's like a horrible pick or some big blunder. They can utilize that Set, throw down the GP ulti, run in the Set, use him to deliver that Orianna ball, try to have those types of combos. And I think that can be pretty effective. But of course, when you're looking at a lane counter, some sort of advantage against Perks here for Ryoma. I don't really think they got it. I do think that Orianna's fine in the early laning phase there against the Yone. But that being said, you're expecting Perks to take fleet forward. You're expecting him to go door and shield to be able to out-sustain in those early levels. And then they are going to have pretty effective engage, with the Leona, plus the Yone follow-up. If you have a Renekton flanking and you can pull that off, that can be a very impactful start to a fight.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch for. I kind of agree with your point about how it's unexciting to see Red Team just, well, we grabbed the team fighting mid laner that everyone plays already, but they picked it for the composition. They said, look, we just need to make sure we have the follow-up engage for the set, so we're going for it anyway. Not like Nidalee brings crowd control either, so yeah, they were kind of locked into Orianna. We'll see if it works out in the end for them as we are on to the Rift here for game 1 of this match. Upper bracket spot, winner faces Team Liquid for a spot in the finals. After that one goes down later on. But right now, yes, indeed. Please be good people. Cloud9 Thieves going to be doing battle here in this one. Best of 5 to see who can do better. Perks on the Yone. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it should be a very interesting one here today. Notably, it will be the farming set, and who he has brought teleport. So, not expecting to be under a tremendous amount of pressure here, I think, in this lane. With the Ezreal plus Leona, there is potential, especially post 6-4 and all in. If you can lock them down fully, utilize the Ezreal ultimate, have those kind of point and click stuns from Leona to guarantee your skill shots coming out, then there's maybe some threat. But FBI is playing cleanse, and Hui will be the farmer. He is going to be playing TP, perhaps more worried about getting actually poked out than actually all in. And this will allow him to farm a little bit more aggressively, trade out his health for some of that gold, and then utilize that TP to come straight back to the lane and get things going. And notably, it's not a teleport actually on Sven, right? We see a lot of Ezreals in these types of matchups go for the TP, so he is somewhat concerned about the pressure that is going to be brought here from that 100 Thieves bot lane.
You're going to see Perks taking the poke that he expects to against an Orianna, otherwise relying on, as you mentioned, the door and shield, which he did in fact buy to keep himself healthy. Fudge doing battle with Somday up at the top side. Big Q going to get 106 health back, but Somday gets an extra parlay, and Fudge is at 130. His one and only potion has been chugged. Somday's going to get almost another Q, and level 2 is going to be first for Gangplank, it looks like.
Yep, and you've got to be really careful, actually, especially at level 1 as the Renekton. If the Gangplank is utilizing his passive and always using that on the Renekton instead of on the minions, it can go pretty bad for Renekton. And being able to force out, that potion early levels here, you want to be playing as the aggressor in this matchup as Gangplank. You want to be autoing the minions, getting your grass proc ready, and then queuing this guy on cooldown, really trying to pressure him heavily. The question is going to be, can Fudge keep the wave off his turret and keep enough health that there is some sort of a threat from a potential Blaber gank, because that's where this lane can get a bit awkward.
Nice trade here, though. Good damage. Has the shield on as well, so Ryoma going to be losing on this trade somewhat. Perks comes out at decent half HP. Ryoma a bit low on mana. Now, another fight in the mid lane. Good stun comes out of Vulcan. Had Aftershock on for a bit, but the punch comes in for 173. That is a solid trade down here, but as Sven wants to try to harass Hui off this farm, he's going to take a lot of damage from FBI. I mean, he knows Hui's cooldown list. The face breaker's down, the stun's down, so gets to take a little bit of time and get some damage in, but does mean FBI hits him back.
Yeah, I just feel like you're giving over so much free gold to the Senna when you just allow him to take those types of trades. He's going to be stealing souls from both of the members in a trade like that and actually getting the Spectral Sickle gold. So it does look like the reason Cloud9 were trading that aggressively was they really wanted to crash the wave, be able to set up this double scuttle that they bring over Perks, actually donate him the scuttle on bot side. Blaber takes the scuttle up on top side. So that is the reason they're trading that aggressively. And of course, Hui, as a result, is missing out on a lot of this farm. We'll see how well he's going to be able to farm it out in these next minutes, as now he has no potion. He does have the teleport, though, as we mentioned earlier, to come back to lane if he gets poked out too heavily.
Alrighty, well, this wave should, I believe, go back Cloud9's way. FBI standing in the way to block Mystic shots. Nice, he gave him one. He gave him the recall stop on a Vulcan. He might, I mean, yeah, he was on a ward anyway. He would have got out with a minion, so it wouldn't have changed that much, but still happened. End of the day, it's Perks, yeah, every single time E is back up, go in for the jump, try to get Q3, get the W, try to trade it out. Ryoma this time dodges the whirlwind, so wins the trade, and gets some decent damage back as he is already TP'd back to lane with the tier plus extra mana crystal.
And that's why now Perkz wants to trade aggressively. You know, when you're in these situations and your lane opponent has used teleport and you have not, you want to walk this line of being able to actually force out some of their resources, trade pretty effectively, but also you have to be sure that you are not going to die while doing that. You don't want to get too over-aggressive. But if you can force out some potions, take a couple hundred health off them, knowing you're going to be teleporting back soon anyway, there's not really any cost there. So will be interesting to see if Ryoma takes another quick reset or if he's going to stay around, because he spent half of his mana and Perkz will be going back to base soon and likely picking up sustain, likely working towards that shield bow, which is going to make it a lot more difficult for Ryoma to really poke him out.
Yeah, Blaber's early sweeper, though, has found some use already. Knocked down a couple of wards. As now Fudge wants to fight topside. Blaber coming by as well. Somday with Predator on. Gonna take some decent damage. But Closer's nearby. Gets wallop. Gets the heal back in. Swarseed's going to miss. And Closer can put on some danger. But Fudge's stun should be back up in a second. And that means he will not dive in. Will not trade flash with Blaber. And it will just be an escape. Somday managed to keep every summoner up. And there is no kill topside.
A pretty calm play on both sides, honestly. First game of playoffs, no one blowing a summoner in that situation, I think is pretty impressive. Cool heads do prevail up on that top side. Who he has just regen back up to full health, hasn't actually gone back to base or utilized the teleport just yet either. And we're gonna have to track how many souls FBI is able to pilfer here from this Cloud9 bot lane. When you are playing against someone like Leona, if they're not looking for all-ins, it's so easy to grab a soul every single time they step forward for an execute with that relic shield.
Yeah, taking some of the farm once in a while. You can see 4 CS in the center. Some of that seems to be on purpose. Otherwise, Huhi getting a lot of it as they warm up the cannon minion and make sure that he can keep farming on the set. 35 CS to 50, though. There is obviously a big CS lead for the Ezreal. Huhi having to drop some of the farm to make up for the fact that obviously FBI is out-earning Vulcan here. And okay, first engage comes across, finds a decent stun, ignite on as well. Huhi very, very low, but has the punch available, so no tower dive is possible. Big damage though, end of the day, 100 Thieves walks out with their lives.
Yep, and we will see Huhi likely teleport back. They may want to just let this wave chill and he could run, but because the wave stacked to their tower, it would slow push towards their opponents, which is going to be awkward. And he's actually TPing for a potential flank here. Looks like they want to set up for a dragon take potentially, as Closer is down in the area, but Blaber is down here as well, and Vulcan is on the roam towards mid, so a little bit of an aggressive TP, but doesn't result in anything there from Huhi.
Yeah, if there was a greedy recall, yeah, it would have been sweet. Regardless, he's not going to lose any pressure, so it seems to be like the right play. There's upside and no downside, so why not do it? Top laner's fighting yet again. Fudge, yeah, uses the W to knock down the barrel early. You get 2 hits out of it, and if you're empowered, you get 3. Not you want to waste it, but still would be helpful. Ult comes across, cannon's hitting as well, but Fudge might just find himself the kill. Somday has to flash to stay alive. Yes, Fudge got a gank earlier, but forces the TP, or the flash, I should say, in the 1v1.
Nicely done. Gets the ult out there, too. Very long cooldown on that Gangplank ult in the early game here. And Somday does not have his teleport, so Fudge could actually just fully shove out this wave. Looks like that's going to be the call from him here. And Somebody just going to try to stay around and collect the wave as it does get pushed in. We can see Perkz went for the early Berserker Greaves in this matchup, reducing the cooldown on that Q. Attack speed, move speed, very effective on this champion. But Ryoma with the blue buff and a tier is just going to be able to spam out spells constantly, and it really isn't in much threat, I think, of getting abused at this point.
Back at bottom lane here. First few recalls coming through. Nice. Always a fan of Ezreal's walking to the brush, throw the ult for poke. You very rarely have like a big play with the ult available. You're not, helping the top lane die more often than not. So dealing damage to your lane opponent is actually a really good use of it, and just getting the poke down. But yeah, I want to once again revisit what happened in top lane. You can look at the cooldowns on the ultis for Fudge and then over for Somday. Renekton's cooldowns are much, much, much shorter.
Yep.
And so round 2 of that play is possible. And just to the fact that Gangplank, of course, cannot help bottom lane if there is a fight, or help mid if there is a fight, which is normally the strength of someone like Gangplank.
Yep, exactly. And you have to be really careful. Next time the ultimate is up for Renekton, it's a flash Renekton with ulti, and you will have no ulti and no flash as GP.
Ooh.
So that becomes very, very scary, but the wraparound here on
sneak.
Sven.
Dash, flash, there we go. Gets away from the pullback, dodges every single ability, but that is still flash down. Good sneak by 100 Thieves to get a flash back on that side of the map.
Yeah, they do get the flash, but it does cost Huhi his flash, so it's not as bad as I initially thought that was going to be. I was thinking 100 Thieves may be able to force the flash without committing their summoners. In the end, it is a trade. Maybe a positive one, but it doesn't look like there's any Hex Flash or anything available for Set. So I would say, you know, if anything, it's even. You know, Ezreal obviously has a lot of mobility in his kit, and I think is actually less reliant on the flash than who he is, but still worth the attempt.
That's actually interesting seeing the fact that it's not Hex Flash on Set. This is, I think, primarily because he's farming Set in bot lane, but who he normally is running Hex Flash. But normally if you're support Set, you're sitting in brush, charging it up, and zoning people out. This man has to sit in lane and last hit minions, which means he kind of needs fleet. And he kind of needs Resolve Secondary to not get poked out, so there's just no room for Hex Flash in the build. So yeah, to your point, he is the primary engage in the team. I know you mentioned the TP at the beginning of the game as well. As primary engage, he's the guy teleporting behind people. Like, he's functionally just a slightly underleveled top lane Set, right? Like, his farm is 6 behind Fudge. Aside from being level 6 instead of 8, like, he is top lane Set. He's the guy TP flanking late game. He's the guy engaging the tools. That's who he's got to play this game.
It also is interesting to me that, you know, he went for the Resolve Secondary, but he didn't actually take second win for the laning, you know, playing against this Ezreal. Every time you step forward, you're going to be getting poked out a little bit here. Instead went for the bone plating, which, you know, may be more effective in a team fight, but definitely does make it harder to actually survive in this laning phase. And as a result, you know, he has gone down quite a bit of farm.
Yeah, it's actually a good point that he isn't going for the landing room, but the one that's more for team fighting. So I guess maybe trying to shore up the fact that he is still in a duo lane XP income, so his level and thus health and armor are lower, so making it up for runes, I'm not sure, but yeah, you know, we could spend a lot of time looking at those choices. End of the day, though, there's still other parts going on. We saw Perks roam top side, didn't get much done, but, you know, made closer, I guess, take Krugs late. Blaber with the hair that they got, which is well to him. That's off of Fudge and Perks' pressure. Is coming topside, and it looks like they may, in fact, just crash up in this top lane. They have gotten, I believe, 1 plate down from laning phase so far, as they might get more, but Closer's right behind. Now, patrol ward spots means they know what's going on. Blaber
but 4
might still be willing to dive.
Yeah, Leona's here, Perks is moving. 100 Thieves is trying to respond, and they do have the Senna ulti, so I don't think you go for the dive here. I think Cloud9 at this point, because they're spotted, you're just moving people up to make sure you can get that Herald in.
Yeah. And that's smart by Closer, because he doesn't have camps topside. There's nothing there for him except covering his top laner while his Romp's respawning and his blue spawning soon. But he's like, but the play is topside. I've got to be there. I can't play just farm efficiency. I need to be on the right spot on the map. Good by Closer to be there. Good reactions. And now Ryoma, the target. CC chain full to dead. First blood goes to Perks.
Really nicely done there. Vulcan flash ulti. The follow-up comes through. Ryoma does not flash. The ultimate coming through from Vulcan there. And as soon as that lands, it was a perfect CC chain. You have the Leona CC to follow it up with the Zenith Blade, with the Q stun, and Yone over top. Really well done there from Cloud9. No hesitation. And they do grab their mid laner first blood. They're up 1.6k gold early on. Pretty significant gold lead. But 100 Thieves at the very least will get a play back here on this bottom side.
Yep. All right. That is 2 plates taken bot in total. So decent money going back in, but yes, indeed, quite the gold difference there. 1 plate in mid, 3 in top. Herald, of course, being a large part of that one. And yeah, sure, a 20 CS lead for Ezreal, but keep in mind, Senna has 13 real CS. And so, you know, bot lane has more gold on the 100 Thieves side.
Here it is one more time. Really all it comes down to is Ryoma needed to flash that, right?
Yeah.
You have tons of time to actually flash that. When you know that Perks is coming down here as well, you know, when the ultimate is thrown, you've kind of got to throw that respect to it and just flash that early on. When you don't flash that, there's no ability to react to the subsequent CC. You're going to be locked up. Perks getting first blood, putting himself in a really nice position. And when Yone gets to an early shield bow, he becomes such a pain for people to lane against. You know, both GP and Orianna in that matchup are so heavily reliant on being able to whittle him down, and it just becomes impossible at that point. You know, with fleet footwork, with the domination runes in the secondary tree, plus that shield bow, you are healing through everything they are throwing at you, and he can really play extremely aggressively at that point. He's even picked up just kind of the casual null magic mantle here. I don't think that's going to be really built into anything early on, and just to be able to survive against Nidalee and this Orianna as well, which I think is pretty smart, given that those are really the only people he's likely to be interacting with.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, honestly. I'm a fan of the build. The component's in there for a while. Yeah, like I said, Wit's End probably not happen for a while. QSS doesn't seem that important. I think it interacts well with Set because it's a suppression. I know you don't get rid of Airborne anymore, but there might still be something funky because it's a suppression as well. Regardless, yeah, looking good right now for Cloud9. I think many people expected this to be a Cloud9 win. They were first seed after all. They won the last best of 5 they played in the lock-in tournament. Sure, that was a reverse sweep back then, but it's looking pretty good on the Cloud9 side. Bot lane has yet to find themselves a kill or anything, right? The one real strong point people were looking forward to with 100 Thieves. They've got some farm and some plates, but not much else. A dragon, the second one now spawning. That might be a play as the squad's around. Yone walking over. Cloud9 may get this one away.
Yeah, it looks like they're probably going to be willing to, but Fudge is moving down. He does have teleport, so if they want to contest, they still have the ability to. And Perks has now arrived. They've got the Essence Reaver done on Sven, and they're looking.
They're going to find big damage. FBI force him to flash away. Blaber, Zonia's in the front. They're going to go for the front line. He gets a shield. FBI kills off Blaber. Going to be traded back. FBI going to drop Fudge. Gets away. Chased down by Closer, but he buys enough time for a trade kill. 3-2 so far to Cloud9. Dragon still alive. A better team fight for Cloud9 yet again.
Yeah, Cloud9 going to be able to come out on top in that it's a trade of teleports. Every flash from the 4 that were already there from 100 Thieves is gone. So the summoners going worse for 100 Thieves, the kills going worse for 100 Thieves. Cloud9 will not go towards that dragon. They just go back towards the lanes, look to push it in. Perks is going to push in mid, then catch the wave top. We'll see when they want to reset here, but Hex Flash coming in big from Vulcan. Hex Flash over the wall, catching Ryoma there with the ultimate, and then in goes Blaber. The TP does arrive here from Fudge. FBI had a really nice Senna ultimate across multiple members, but then Perks, the E is already out. He R's in, flashes as well, did not flash, used that Q2 to dash over to follow into that blue pit, getting another kill, has the shield bow complete, and he's going to be able to kill the first tower of the game solo up top. They may lose Dragon off this because he doesn't have teleport to actually get down if Fudge wanted to join, but I think it's well worth it. He's going to be ridiculously rich at this point.
Yep. So Cloud9 betting big on gold income. Rift Herald top side. Finish the turret later on. Give that gold over to Perks. Spend money getting kills. And the result is a nearly 3,000 gold lead. The punishment is, yes, indeed, 100 Thieves have gotten the first 2 dragons, but the hope being that your gold income is so good that you can contest the next ones afterwards.
Yeah.
And even still, 100 Thieves actually able to get more done bot side. They will eventually knock in this turret as well, answering the turret score 1-1.
I just think it's so concerning how strong Perks is going to be. I'll be interested to see what he actually has when he goes back to buy, because I don't think he has actually base since that dragon fight where he got a couple kills. He just took that tower top, and now they're looking to actually set up a potential dive here mid. They're going to drop the Herald, so mid lane turret is also going to be gone here. Perks is just going to be so rich, and Yone is one of those champions that I think snowballs better than almost anyone in the game. When you get to a quick 2 items, you have that shield bow, it's so tough to burst him down, and with the IE plus shield bow as that 2 item spike, you can 100-0 carries like it's nothing.
Oh yeah. It's rough. It's really, really rough. And Senna doesn't have the easiest itemization to stay alive longer. Orianna. Now, okay, yep, they get it. It is still 11.5, I will point out. So this is pre-nerf to arm guard, which is maybe worth considering. It's also, before the change to shield bow, where it gives a bunch of bonus AD on top of it. So Perks is going to be less lethal this game than he would be on live if you're able to play Snow right now. Not that it might change very much, but that is one difference to keep in mind. It means we may see arm guard come through for Ryoma as a second item to stay alive a bit longer against a champ like this.
Yeah, we'll see if that's going to be the call from him. But I feel like if you didn't build it for the laning phase, you're just not building it until maybe way late. My guess is he's just going to be, going for his tier upgrade here, going towards that Seraphs as the second item. Cloud9 just moving around the map as a squad. Vulcan and Blaber holding hands, moving around, pressuring people off of these towers. Closer is shadowing Somday, knowing that he could be under fire here. And it is actually an early QSS there for Perks. So he grabs the QSS, plus the BF, wants to be able to make sure he has the ability to go deep and not just get locked down. That is something that you are in danger of. When you go in with the E, if you get CC'd up, you can sometimes get killed off, so the QSS will allow you to QSS out of any potential CC and snap back if you are in danger. Things like the Senna route, potentially, the Everfrost route, even something like that snap together there from Fuhi, you should be able to QSS and then just E back.
Yep, it's basically, that's it. It's Everfrost, Senna W, and Set E. Maybe the R in case it's coded a little bit weird, but my expectation is not because it's an airborne effect. We'll see. I'm just not the expert on that one. Don't run a set a lot myself. So we'll see. He's aiming at a couple of different abilities, and he's going to try to make sure he is unstoppable during it. Muramana getting pretty close here for Sven. Essence Reaver first has been the common Ezreal build for a while now. Mythic third with the mana stacking. You basically can't run out of mana. You get some really good Q poke. The cooldowns are good. It's a nice build overall. Zhonya's first, very standard for Lilia's as well. Going for damage, by the way. There aren't any real other magic damage threats in the team, so no Moonstaff this time around. Just going to go for the Leandries.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. You can see that Night Harvester is the build from Closer. I think he's going to have tough time getting value out of it, and he does have additional magic damage from the Orianna, so I would have been more okay with a supportive style build from him. To me, you know, when the Nidalees are building full damage, it feels like it needs to be more of a snowballing style of game for them to get a lot of effect out of it, because I do think it's going to be difficult for him to really ever dive in, you know, even with this more bursty style of build in a team fight.
We'll see the risk can happen, but you're right, it might be tough. Honestly, everyone is either very tanky or very mobile in the case of Sven. So yeah, it could be tough to find the right target on Closer's side. You can see a 1-level lead in the jungle. Top laners are close. Fudge, obviously with all the help he got from his team, bunch of wards coming down, the entire jungle taken away, he's able to take down the third turret of the game. Herald crashed top and bottom. Top and mid. Fudge took bottom. 3-1 turret score, 4,000 gold lead. Next dragon spawns in 50 seconds. This is one that Cloud9, I believe, should not be allowed to give away. They've got to make sure they're on the right side of the map. Perkz does have TP and will have to make that teleport happen to get down to that side of the map because we are running short on time to recall and walk.
Yeah, I think he's going to push out this one wave, and then we'll see if he bases and then looks for a TP off of a buy, because he hasn't been back to base for a bit. I'm not sure exactly how much gold he has, but he's doing the Krugs, so I think he won't be going back to base, that's for sure. Somday will be heading up towards topside to answer, but I do expect them to contest. As you say, I don't think you want to be giving away 3 straight dragons. It just gives 100 Thieves that light at the end of the tunnel. It gives them that potential win condition of a soul. So Perkz is moving down. He's just farming the entire enemy jungle away on his trip down here. Ooh,
well, Fudge is the target. Javelin doesn't quite anything, but it might not matter as the rest of the squad comes in. Dunk into the wall. Goodbye to Fudge. He has been flattened. He's an edge piece. He's gone. We'll see him back in the base when he respawns, and that means Dragon is kind of a freebie to 100 Thieves. You can't really win a 4v5 here.
Yeah.
Team Cloud9 tries.
That's a pretty big deal. You know, the fact that they're actually going to have to give this up. Fudge just out of position. You know, he doesn't have a tier 1 tower there. He's playing pretty far up the lane. You have got to know the 100 Thieves are going to be setting up around this dragon. The only person you've seen is actually Gangplank. Where do you think everyone else is, right? Of course, the other 4 members from 100 Thieves would be down on that bottom side, so pretty costly mistake there from Fudge. I do think the game plan here from Cloud9 was, you know, build towards this inevitable 3rd dragon fight, stack as much gold as possible, then you're super strong, you can test them there, you stop the soul stacking at this point, and because he gets caught, well, that's kind of all out the window, and now 100 Thieves have the opportunity to try to go for that soul in just about 5 minutes.
Yep. And the spikes come through. Sven's done with Ramana as well. We know Perk probably has a full item ready to combine. If it's IE, maybe not quite, but he's getting close anyway. And now 100 Thieves, yeah, they're battling back a gold deficit, but Cloud Soul can answer a lot of that difference, honestly. If they manage to get one more good dragon fight, it nullifies, I would say, maybe 70% of the gold lead, 80% of the gold lead, and feels like a lot, you know, fairer of a game. Vulcan gonna go in. They're gonna go for a sleep here as well. They're gonna find a set. Drowsy ult comes on to only one, dunks him backwards. Vulcan is just gonna die. 100 Thieves have a better time in the team fight. Can Perkz do enough though? Somday walks away cleanly. 3-man knockup. Big damage. FBI is gonna drop. Huge by Perkz to turn one back around.
Yeah, he's going in. Cloud9 not super coordinated on that engage. It is actually Bloodthirster second here for Perkz, so all about the sustain. Vulcan going in, but Perkz was not TPing when that happened. If Perkz was alive and arriving as Vulcan went in, I think that fight could have gone a lot better for Cloud9. Perkz, of course, does get a kill back for them. He is ridiculously strong. They will have to back off his TP.
Now Summoner heal to get out of the slow in time, because he's beelining over there. And Sven flash into stun, into Everfrost, into Shockwave, and Haymaker into absolute death. Nothing you could have done but not be there in the first place.
Yeah, nice play there from Huhi. He comes in with the TP and the Turbo Chem Tank, and he was so fast. But, I mean, Perkz makes that a 1-for-1 mid lane, but I think could have been a lot better for them if they were more coordinated on that engage, if they timed it out better with Vulcan and him going in at the same time. 100 Thieves going 1-for-1 mid. They get a kill on bot. We can watch this one more time here. Vulcan, I think a really nice engage. Zenith Blade to Somday, then flash past on FBI. But just now is Perkz actually arriving, and Vulcan is already dead at that point. Perkz, though, finds a great angle moving towards the side as they stack up. 3-man ulti. does finish off FBI, getting the summoners out of him as well. That was huge. Then Cloud9 just a little bit too aggressive. The double TP answer, the slow on the ultimate there from Somday. And that man can run. He's fast. Watch out. Catching up to and locking down Sven. Ryoma, easy Everfrost to follow it up. And they do get a kill.
And the healing cut comes in. It's going to be Ryoma grabbing the Oblivion Orb now after his Seraph's Embrace is done. And as we saw, Perkz is indeed stacking lifesteal. Shield Bow, Bloodthirster, the man wants to drain tank. And that's going to be cut by 40% until full Merlanovicon comes around. And Rahuhi, he's found a target again. Sven's already dashed, so now Huhi's going to find his real target. Gonna dunk into the wall, but the engage might come in elsewhere. Sleep coming in. Huhi gonna be a target. Big shields come across. That's gonna decay down, and Huhi is going to die. Sven grabs the kill. Too far of an engage for the 100 Thieves support.
Yeah, just didn't realize where everyone was. There was a lot of Cloud9 members, and he catches up to Ven, and everyone from Cloud9 is just around him. So Cloud9 now gonna go straight onto the Baron. Perkz can kind of just drain tank this for the squad. Has so much lifesteal, he can take a lot of the damage, but 100 Thieves is in the area. You've got to be careful about a potential steal. I don't think Cloud9 need to try to 50-50 this, so they're turning.
Ult hits FBI to half. Perkz has ulti, has to get away from Closer. Shockwaved in. That was beautiful by 100 Thieves. Ryoma helps set it up. Closer can finish. Blaber can try to smite, but it goes to Closer, and it's time for Cloud9 to run away.
Oh, what a terrible Baron from Cloud9. There was no need to force that hard. They were in a winning position. They give away Baron, and now your opponents close the gold gap off of that big steal from Closer, and they have potential to grab Soul here. Perkz gets speared over the wall, tries to dash away, caught by the shockwave, finished off, and then Closer. You have a better smite finish here as the Nidalee. You have that Q smite. He didn't even need to use the smite, actually. Looks like it just got killed off by a little bit of damage coming through from Ryoma, plus his
Blaber Q smited to 300. He's like, okay, I'm gonna hope I time it right. 300 off, and all right, yoink. Ours now.
And now 100 Thieves, with the additional power from the Baron buff, you're actually stronger at this moment in time. You have more effective power despite that gold disadvantage. If they take the Soul, they are really fully in control of this game. Cloud9 not playing well around that Baron. Huge overforce, and they are punished big time.
Okay, Perkz, you're the man with 3 kills. You're the man with the gold lead, highest CS in the game, most kills on your team. Is it going to be enough for you to be the difference that your team needs? Fudge trying to build up Fury. Dragon down to 5k. Sven doing a bit of poke. Blaber lost the last smite. We'll see if Closer wins this one. Engage comes in for Vulcan. Dunks him right back in. Perkz wants in. Doesn't catch Ryoma with the knockup and can't get the rest. Shotgun catches Fudge though, but they still get the kill. 1 for 0 so far. Closer Zonia's isn't. Cloud9 on the chase. And already found kill 2 and 3. Make it 4. Make it all 5. You thought you caught Cloud9, but they aced you for nothing.
And they're going bot. They're going to try to push here. We'll see how much they can get. The death timers are long. I don't think that they could end off this, but it should be an inhibitor for sure. We'll see how quickly Cloud9 wants to try to move towards the end.
I think
they're trying to end, yeah, because otherwise you leave one person on the Dragon.
So they think they have enough to win the game here. Respawn timers, 12 seconds on FBI, 10 now on Huhi. I don't think they get the next, but they they realize it now. They're like, okay, we spent the entire team. Now it does save them time in terms of you can get out of the base a little bit faster because you killed the turrets and inhibs a bit faster. And you're probably not going to get this Dragon stolen anyway. But yeah, they went for the big play. Said, maybe we have enough. Okay, we don't. Bud Light Ace, watch it again.
All right, here it is one more time. Vulcan on the flank, finding it at an angle. Fudge as well is behind the team. And I just feel like 100 Thieves lost track of that. Fudge was on minions, and no one is marking him. No one is keeping him out of the fight. He just walks in to all the carries there. Blaber finds a good sleep. Perkz gets into the back line, but losing track of the Renekton there, who's playing on your minions in mid lane, is not a way that 100 Thieves are going to be able to win these fights. If Huhi is diving deep and no one is marking Renekton, that's what the fight is going to look like, because everyone else is squishy.
Yep. Beautifully done. And Fudge, I mean, he walked the whole way there. Like, we were calling out the fact that, like, he's hitting Gromp, he's running around past the blue buff, he ran over down in the mid lane.
I mean, he was in full vision the whole time. He was literally on the red team's minions, waiting for the flank. The minions were attacking him, so they had vision.
He just traipsed his way back there, and he's stealthy. Like, here's the thing. Everyone sleeps on Fudge. They forget he exists. This is what happens. you forget he exists, and he shows up right behind with the big stun, and your mid laner's dead. So
Sneaky crocodile.
he is. You know, turns out Cloud9 still has some sneaky members on the team, even with him gone. He's just in the top lane now.
All right, Perks, he's got a GA here, so not going towards the IE. Really wants to be able to dive deep, trying to focus a bit more on his survival in these fights. Has the GA, has the QSS. Soreldia's Grudge, I believe it is called, coming through for Sven, which is quite an effective item on the champion. It is kind of like the old Iceborne style. You know, you get the slow on your abilities here. Can allow you to both kite out and potentially chase down in some of these fights. So a lot of big item completions coming through for Cloud9. They are again on the offensive here.
Pop quiz, do you know who Serilda is
No.
in the lore of League of Legends?
No.
It's either Ashes or Sejuani's ancestor.
Oh, okay.
The leader of the either. Yeah, I know. Ow. Okay. But yeah, there you go. That's you know, the sort of Avarosan, not Avarosan, the Frelia Triumvirate. Yeah, one of the ancestors there.
I give myself
Ashes
like
or
a 1% chance of knowing the answer to a lore question.
Yeah,
just on
understandable.
Average. Yeah. That wasn't one of the 1%, so.
It wasn't one of the 1%. Yeah.
No.
That's okay. Careful though, Sven. Okay. Yep, it's fine.
They're split.
Oh wait, it's not fine. He's in the
No.
way. He's gonna get the face breaker. He's gonna dunk him right back in, and goodbye. Just pile drives him into the fountain, and we'll see you respawning in 45 seconds. Baron's alive a little bit after that one, so it's no free objective, but Thieves gonna kill back.
Yeah, it's a kill and a flash there. And yes, he can always E over the wall, but when no one is around you from their team, 100 Thieves just keep chasing. There's so much move speed on this set. Who has the Deadmans, who has that chem tank, he can chase you past your dash unless you have that team behind you ready to defend you. Renekton and Leona were not there. Blaber was in the area, but Porks was up on top side. So as soon as 100 Thieves realizes there's no one behind him, they're just going to continue that chase, grab that easy kill.
Yeah, really, really nicely done. And he keeps being the one. Like, he is the engage on this team. He is the one who does it. He's got set up because the Ori can speed him up. He's got some help from the Senna sometimes. The GP ult can help as well. Like, there's extra tools here that make it easier. But he is the guy who's got to be the go button. Once he was wrong, and it was a bit tragic, and they gave away a kill, and it turned into a bad team fight in mid. But otherwise, he's been getting a lot done to make sure that the engage they're there.
Yeah.
Now, weathering a 4,000 gold deficit despite getting Baron earlier, they once again are going to be on Dragon Soul in 1:40, but Baron is up first, and that's the objective play around.
And Cloud9 need to play with more respect to that engage, right? I think they're just underestimating how far away 100 Thieves can close the gap from. He has so much move speed that even if you have that Ezreal E, it's not enough to keep you safe. And Blaber over the wall here. Does
Flash it.
Forcing that flash out. Really nicely done by Aroma. Good shockwave over the wall, but doesn't mean for this next little window, they are going to be weaker without that.
True. Only got, I guess 50 ability haste is not too bad. 20 for the boots, 20 for the mythic, 10 from
It should be up before
Zonias,
anything happens, so not a big
yeah,
deal.
by Dragon for sure. But if there was like an instant Baron rush, you're like, oh, we're missing that one.
Yeah. That's mostly what I was thinking about if Cloud9 would look for any sort of a Baron start immediately. But of course, that was not the case there. So great play from Ryoma. We will see. Interesting build here from FBI. You know, he was going for what I thought was the Rageblade second, but then kind of bailed out on it a little bit. Now has a Zeal. You know, I'm never a fan of kind of those halfway builds where it feels like he decided I need a rapid fire is my assumption. But now he's kind of with components of two items and just feels like Rageblade would be much more effective.
Yeah, I was about to say like Phantom Dancer is a very good item, but it's like you don't need a second cloak for Phantom Dancer.
Don't.
I mean, yeah. So I'm curious if there's actually a math problem here because you get like 3/4 of Rageblade by just getting the Rage Knife, right? You get most of the conversion. So there's it's a math problem. There's an argument that like actually Rage Knife Zeal is better than finishing Rageblade.
But you don't need the
at
Crit
some
Cloak on
point-
top for anything then.
Yeah, well, the cloak does the rest of Rageblade, right?
Yeah.
So it's Rage Knife Zeal Rageblade would be the idea, and it might actually be mathematically correct. I'm now curious, and after this series, I will go do that math and tweet about it, and then we'll all know together. But that's my theory, that it's actually just like the correct way of doing this build.
Okay, well, maybe I'll be wrong. We can check on that after the series. Interesting stuff. I do always think you have to take into consideration the power spike too when you hit those two items, and that can be important. You know, when you're fighting around key objectives, it's similar to the reason that things like elixirs could be so effective, right?
Oh, yeah.
That is stunting your build path, but if you need to win this fight now, there is no better way to spend 500 gold, right? Than actually getting an elixir right before a fight. This one turning a little bit more passive over the last couple of minutes. You know, Cloud9 do grab another dragon here for themselves. 100 Thieves decided not to contest at that, so it does feel like it's going to be much more about the neutral objectives. Cloud9 have been largely in control of the game, but have made some pretty serious mistakes around these objectives. You know, that lost Baron was definitely an unforced error from Cloud9. Giving that away, I think, has made them play a little bit more slowly, knowing that their opponents are sitting at soul point, knowing that it's later into the game. They're playing, I think, a lot more cautious now.
Ezreal does half of FBI's health, and it's not going to get better anytime soon. Pretty good poke onto Somday as well. Barrel's giving us the mid. Blaber kind of wants in. Perks coming in, dunked backwards, trying to buy some time for his team. Rage not going to find much either, as they don't get much of a sleep now. They've got FBI, not going to find the root though, and they're going to walk away. Vulcan now chunked down. Be careful, he's still taking damage. Pops a locket shield, may still die, and Somday going to find one kill. In the back lane goes Perks, can't kill Hui, has to jump right back out. Somday very, very low, gets dropped down. Time to run away. 4v4 on the map. Perks wants to find a way in, but can't just yet. No ulti means it's not going to be an easy move. Closer jumps in, but careful, he got baited, he got outsmarted, and he's going to be dropping. Perks goes for the kill in backside as well, but he's 1v2. Zonia's dodges True Shot Barrage, and Perks can't find the rest of the damage. Who he now going to drop as well, and Cloud9 just had the numbers. It is 4v2, Shock going to buy some time, and it's time to run away, but be careful because the slows are still in. Oh my gosh, Blaber makes it happen. Ryoma going to drop, and it's another Bud Light Ace for Cloud9 right in front of the base. It's time to close the game.
What a fight there. So back and forth between Cloud9 and 100 Thieves. It looked like 100 Thieves might have had it at the beginning of that fight, but Cloud9 kited out, stay alive. They take the ace, and they're going to take the game.
Absolutely beautiful game. Back and forth, back and forth. We had some throws, we had some catches, we had some outstanding team fights. Cloud9 take game one of the best of 5.
Damn, that was a crazy final fight. Such a long one there as Cloud9 tried to pull off that pincer play onto 100 Thieves, coming one side with Perks, one side with Fudge. 100 Thieves did such a good job disengaging the initial fight that it looked like it would have been going their way, but as they tried to chase down Cloud9 to take them out in those final moments, Cloud9 just turned and was able to find the effective fight. They were getting so much damage in with Sven, who was kiting back, constantly hitting those Mystic shots. Perks was poking from the side nonstop, life stealing back up over and over and over. He never went down. And we saw even the Stone Plate cooldown was still available for Fudge, so he was able to chase in at the end. The Zonias was still available for Blaber. He was able to chase in at the end. And they had saved all of these important cooldowns through the early moments of the fight. And that is just so impressive. And yes, Cloud9 did have some missteps. Yes, they're going to be kicking themselves for that earlier Baron. But overall, I think this was a really impressive showing from Cloud9. They played it aggressively. Their engages largely were very on point. And their flanks in a lot of these team fights were really, really nice.
Yeah, really, really well done. Some good moments back and forth, of course, for both teams, but Cloud9, the better team fighters by far, and they walked away with it in the end. So congrats on game one. With the victory, Cloud9 have the lead in our series, but it's a best of 5. It'll be a while until we crown our actual victor. But when we return, the State Farm Analyst Desk will be breaking down that game one victory. See you there.
Jake from State Farm. I would like to formally extend my gratitude for the Russell rate on my insurance.
Do you mean surprisingly great rates from State Farm?
I don't believe in accepting help, but I'll make an exception.
Here's the deal, Russell. There's no special rate. These prices are for everyone.
With the Oak and the Eagle as witness, consider us square. I made that from memory. I know your face that well.
When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Dreams aren't achieved overnight. They take passion, dedication. And even then, there are no guarantees. But for the LCS, that's the power of dreams. Too bad! It means you never give up. It means you always play again. Honda, proud automotive partner of the LCS.
Welcome back to the LCS Midseason Showdown and the State Farm Analyst Desk, where Cloud9 finds themselves victorious in Game 1 and putting themselves a lead in this best-of-5 series. Now, before we dive into the analysis for the game itself, I did tease everyone at the tail end of Countdown that we would be re-hitting predictions as we had just ran out of time to get to them. But I will also remind everyone at home that these were locked in before Game 1 played out. So they are not taking, obviously, the 1-0 scoreline into account. But starting over with you, Raz, how did you feel this series was going to play out today?
Yeah, that is a 3-0, and you're right. Thank the producers for not allowing me the opportunity to flip-flop. But yeah, 3-0 for me on Cloud9.
3-0 for Raz on Cloud9. Lauren, what about you?
I also said that it would be 3-0 for Cloud9, mainly not because I think C9 is just that much better than every team in NA. More, I just don't have that much faith in 100 Thieves right now.
All right, Mark?
3-0 C9, 100 Thieves are like my teriyaki bowl. They're finished. There's nothing left. They're out. Boo.
That's awful.
You know what? You know what I didn't need to see today? Mark's lunch. That was something that definitely was not on the list. But hey, you know what? I'm glad you're eating well over there, Mark. That's what matters to me. Oh God, please stop. All right, let's get into the analysis of the game itself, because so far the teams are playing out to your prediction with the quick 1-0 lead here for Cloud9. However, there were definitely a few mistakes throughout the game that we will get to. First, I want to talk draft, and I'm coming to you, Alorm, on this. Because I think a few interesting things come out. There's pretty high Renekton priority on one side, but definitely a return to some picks for 100 Thieves with, for example, the set in the bot lane, and then, of course, Closer choosing to bring the Nidalee into that all-important matchup against Blaber.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the Renekton and the Nidalee picks here, because Renekton, I think when C9 first picked it, kind of threw 100 Thieves off because they play around Renekton so often. And when you pick Nidalee with no lanes that really have setup, Nidalee doesn't do anything this game. She gets out-farmed by the Lilia. Lilia is much faster and has better dueling potential around the neutral objectives. So when Nidalee doesn't have a lane to play around, what does she do other than just sit back and scale? And that's my big problem with 100 Thieves, is that they're opting into this kind of comp where they have no real win condition around the lane phase. So they just end up scaling throughout the entire game and hoping that they can win the team fights. You could say that maybe their win condition is bot lane and they're set up for the Nidalee because they have CC on the set and Senna. But you're playing against Ezreal, who's the longest range AD farmer in the game, and a Leona who's just so tanky that you're more than likely going to have to overextend and spend a lot of summoners to get. So I really don't think that 100 Thieves had a solid win condition this game.
Yeah, I mean, I echo the point in terms of the Nidalee one. Like, if you go towards Nidalee and you're put in a situation where you can't gank for mid, top, like your only real setup is the set bot lane, and you're going to have to concede early Skull Crabs, and Lilia is going to be more relevant in team fight. Those are the things I'm always concerned about. But one thing to point out, wow, they put in a lot of resources, like being concerned about Renekton flex pick. And for me, if this is the case, suddenly I think going into game 2, they just have to either ban Renekton or pick it up themselves. Because like, even though they picked GP on 3, they thought it was for sure a flex. Like banning Lucian and Aurelia, recognizing that like you still have to protect the gangplank, even though you're kind of you think that it's going to be going into the Renekton, that's something you definitely don't want looming over you. So that was already a big concern in the draft, is that if you see this and yeah, Renekton Lilia, you can definitely put that mid lane. That's hard for 100 Thieves to deal with.
I think one other thing that jumps out to me in the draft, Mark, and we'll kind of curtail this into our next point, is the Yone in the mid lane for Perks. We talked about him as an individual playmaker. There's nothing that says playmaker more than a Yone pick.
Yeah, his performance is really good on it too. I think this is one of the things that we were talking about a little bit in the countdown, is like, you know, what does Perks bring to C9 that's a little different? And it's individual playmaking and carry potential from the mid lane. He's a great person to invest resources into. And so they tried this dive set up top, didn't look like it was going to work. And on their way roaming back mid, Sven and Vulcan meet up in the mid lane to set up a kill for Perks there. And then you kind of get to see the payoff later on in the game when you have this insanely good playmaker from the mid lane. You know, this is a bit of an over-engage by Vulcan this time around. Ends up in the middle of his enemy team. He's dead, and it looks like the play should be over. But Perks is like, screw that, man. I know I can still kill someone in here. And he goes into 5 people to blow FBI up. And this is the kind of thing that there's not many mid laners in the LCS right now who can go and make a play like that out of nothing.
Yeah, Perks played really well this game, but I'm not gonna let that be a lasting impression on Vulcan. Vulcan, I think, as you said, had a really good game. The first blood that he was participating in that you saw, the Rift Herald take that I thought he actually, if you look back at the minimap, I think he played really well around allowing the Rift Herald to be done. So they, stacked wave bot lane, let it push in. He hovered mid. It was easy. He comes right back bot. And then 1140, when he goes top lane for the, essentially they were looking for a top dive, couldn't end up getting it, but end up securing a Rift Herald turret plate take for the Renekton. So I thought that this game, he was really in tune with the play for the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, there was a time or two throughout this game where we saw, some member or another of Cloud9 overextended and getting taken advantage of. And I think in a lot of ways that did extend ultimately the game time. But Alorum, we did see as well the team fight prowess of a team like Cloud9, most notably 26 minutes into the game. Fudge coming up with a huge and somewhat unexpected flank and route, however successful.
And my God, I wish we had the whole clip for this because Fudge scaled a mountain to get this flank. This is the flank of the split. He's sitting all the way behind. He goes to mid lane and back. This is the flank of the LCS split along with Vulcan. It was so good. And props to C9 as a team because it's really common as a top laner to get these kind of insane flanks. And you're just telling your team, I'm coming, guys, I'm coming. You got to wait. C9 bided their time, waited for Fudge to get in that perfect position, and then started the fight. And you can see the power of a flank that is just perfected like that in a 5-for-0 team fight. It was so good. It was honestly the best flank I've seen in a very long time. Huge props to Fudge for having patience and just going all the distance to where he got the perfect team fight.
You mentioned
hot bothered.
Yeah, it was sick. And the patience is a huge thing too, because I think a lot of Renektons, when they get that flank and they see their team engage, go flash W, and they instantly blow their chase potential. And what Fudge did great there is he just walked at them. And so when Somday flashed the wall, he had his flash to follow and actually make sure that, to Alorum's point, it was a 5-for-0 ace.
That's a massive heads-up play. You may have caught the glimpse of the sharp divot in the middle of the gold graph for Cloud9, for those of you that remember.
About that?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I think we should call out that there was a couple of failures around global objectives for Cloud9, and so given that this is a best-of-series mark, I like to be a little extra critical of even the winning side when looking forward and what they can ultimately change. You'd expect them to set up around Baron, for example, a little bit smarter, a little bit smoother, not let Closer get in the way he did, and ultimately execute on the steal.
Yeah, that plus there was the Drake at the third Drake where Fudge was pushed up bot lane, and they had pretty good vision, and the rest of this 100 Thieves just ran through there, killed him, and they lost the potential third Drake contest, which put C9 in a bit of a tough spot. They did play that flank super well, but that was for Soul. If they misplayed there, that's a potential climb back in the game for 100 Thieves after picking up a risky Baron attempt. So these are things that C9 can definitely clean up.
Yeah, basically, essentially echoing that sentiment, Soul Point is something you need to be able to be on time for. So, Perks being top lane wave with 20 seconds to spare on the objective, and you had all the vision set up. I just want them to maintain it better. But at the end of the day, Cloud9 won this game pretty emphatically.
Yeah, and the first two dragons, while some could view that as a mistake, they gave away dragons in the first place, we have to think about the Rift Heralds. Both of them went over to Cloud9, so that they were planning from the very beginning to trade away those dragons for Rift Herald, which I did say at the beginning of the series I didn't think there would be much action top, and pretty much all the action happened top when it came to the junglers. So getting those Heralds was a pretty worthwhile trade. But you just have to be wary of that Soul Point dragon fight because, like we already said, Fudge getting caught at that point was really bad, especially because Finn was coming up on his 2-item power spike with the Miramana and Essence Reaver. And had they been as 5, that I'm pretty sure that fight would have been very in favor of them.
Let's talk game 2 real quick here, Alorum. And I want to come back to you on this because you had talked about perhaps in this initial draft that the Renekton priority first pick from Cloud9 threw 100 Thieves for a bit of a loop. Well, 100 Thieves side selection, they elect to go to blue side. Is it something as simple as snapping up the Renekton themselves so they have that to play around on the top side?
I think it's either going to be picked or banned. And if it's picked, it's going to be on the first rotation because we've seen so much prio and Somday has so many games on it. I believe Somday is also 5-1 on the split on it, so they have a very high win rate. I am curious to see if they will bring out the Twisted Fate because so far, while Ryoma has been put in, they have yet to play the Twisted Fate other than when they picked Twisted Fate and then there was that remake because of the facility issues. So they showed that they are actually willing to pick TF and play those kind of side lane comps. but they haven't actually been able to do it into the game because of the issues before.
Well, unlike yesterday's series, the teams are flipping sides of the map much earlier on, so I'm curious to see how that plays into the series. But going into the break before this next game of 100 Thieves versus Cloud9, let's get to know Closer just a little bit better. The LCS is a regionally diverse league, which it means we are the benefactors of the unique perspectives and cultures that those foreign pros bring to the LCS, including food. We often hear from the LCS pros themselves that Los Angeles is a great food city, and Grubhub has partnered with us to deliver them a taste of home.
I'm from Turkey. The city called Antalya. It's like a touristic city. Since I'm away from home, I really miss the food my mom makes, but back then it was like, I wish I could go to, I don't know, fast food, try some restaurants. There was a restaurant close to our house. Me and my friends usually go to the restaurant and order kebabs. So I think there's two types of kebabs, and it's on the stick usually. It's either chicken or meat. Now I like the chicken kebab more. Since I moved here, I tried some Turkish places. It doesn't look exactly the same, but it tastes really similar. So I was pretty surprised. I miss my country food a lot, but right now I'm just trying different kind of restaurants here.